Yep.
Perfect. I just wanted to welcome everybody to August Good Morning Healdsburg from the Healdsburg Chamber. And I will toss it over to Mark Gladden, who will be running the meeting and introducing our keynotes for the morning.
Well, good morning, everybody. Nice to be here. I know these come up kind of infrequently now, with every couple of months, but they are wonderful. And if you haven't been here before, I think you'll enjoy the experience. And it actually brings you closer to the city of Healdsburg and kind of all the movers and shakers around, like, Chris Herod. Hi, Chris. How you doing? And it really is a unique opportunity for people of any city, but especially the city of Healdsburg, obviously for us. Okay, I'd like to first recognize anybody else out there. I see Ron Edwards, I see Evelyn Mitchell, and of course, Talia. How you doing, Talia?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yes, we have, let me just double check. We have the 2 council members, and then we also have our Vice Mayor Mitchell. I don't see anyone else at the moment.
Okay.
We're up to 3. Ron's here too.
Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, and we have as our keynote speaker today, Erika Thibault. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Thibault. Thibault, yeah. It's French, so everything's quiet, yeah.
I was kind of working on that as I was looking at it. Erika has been the Sonoma County Library Director since February, but she's been with the library since 2021, serving as Deputy Director. And I don't know if everybody appreciates what that actually means, but she has 17 locations she runs with like 320 or more staff members, and anybody who has an employee could appreciate what that's like. She's came to us from the Los Angeles Public Library, so, no newbie when it comes to having to deal with issues there. And before a library career, she worked with the Santa Monica Public Radio and Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So she has a wide variety of experience, which she brings to the job, and has been wonderful for us, and we're very lucky to have her. She's been a member of the Rotary Club of Healdsburg, which is great, and thank you for your service there as well. And has served on the Library Commission as commissioner appointed by the city of Healdsburg.
Mark, excuse me, I think
I'm sorry, that's Andy. That's Andy. Is Andy here too? Andy, there he is. Okay, Andy Eklund. Sorry, moved right over there. Andy is a member of the Rotary Club and will be chair of the club's Youth Services Committee. Since 2018, he served on the Sonoma County Library Commission as commissioner appointed by the city of Healdsburg. And before retiring, he worked in workplace learning and development with an emphasis on customer service. And obviously, I'm one of those people who could use some of your services based on what I just did. So anyway, Erika and Andy, welcome. And should we start with you, Erika?
Well, actually, Mark, I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
If I may here for just a moment. I know you mostly want to hear from Erika, and you're going to. But I wanted to say just a couple of things. First of all, I want to welcome everybody who's here on the call live. And of course, if you're listening later on the recording, we're grateful that you're taking the time to do that. As Mark mentioned, since 2018, it's been my honor to serve on the Sonoma County Library Commission as the commissioner appointed by the city of Healdsburg. So special thanks to our Vice Mayor, Evelyn Mitchell, our city council members, Ron Edwards and Chris Herod, and of course, our city manager, Jeff Kay, who's also joined the call. Erika is going to share a lot of information with you about the Sonoma County Library. We have a lot going on. It's a very exciting time. As you're listening today, and particularly afterwards, I hope there are 4 things that you're going to take away with you, and I wanted to just emphasize those quickly now. The first, and I think in some ways the most important, you'll see this on the first slide. The Sonoma County Library is for everyone. Look, no secret that this is a divisive time in the United States. We're dealing with political and social controversies, but in this divisive time, the Sonoma County Library welcomes everyone. We may not have every resource that you want on a particular topic, but I can promise you that we will have something that will meet your needs. Second thing I'd like to emphasize, which may be obvious to you on the call, but perhaps not to many others in our community. The Sonoma County Library is free. Everything that Erika is going to be talking about, from our physical books and magazines to our electronic resources, audiobooks, streaming services, all of the great programming that we do, all of the access to materials, it's 100% free. For many of the folks who live in Sonoma County, but perhaps grew up outside of the United States, they're not always aware that this is a free resource. And look, at a time when many people in our community are struggling to make ends meet, the fact that the library is free is a tremendous benefit. Third thing I'd like you to keep in mind, I hope that many of you are already avid library users, whether you're borrowing physical materials like books and magazines, or if you're using the Libby app, as I do, to download audiobooks. Regardless of how much you already know about the library, I guarantee that you're going to come away learning about something else that we do that you were not aware of. It's truly remarkable, the services and resources that the library provides. Fourth thing I'd like you to keep in mind, and I'm going to turn it over to Erika. If you lived in Sonoma County before 2016, you probably remember that the library was severely under-resourced. And thankfully, in 2016, Sonoma County voters passed Measure Y. It provides a 1/8 of a cent sales tax revenue to support the library. This has been an enormous benefit. And currently, you know, I serve as the chair on the finance committee, so I pay attention to this. We get 40% of our revenue from this sales tax measure. And what this means, and Erika will share more, but we are now open on Mondays. We're now open on Sundays. We're open 2 nights a week. We've added staff. We've added materials. And as she'll talk about, we're about to begin a significant modernization project at the Healdsburg branch. All of this is funded by Measure Y. It's been a tremendous benefit, but it came with a 10-year expiration period. The Library Commission at our last meeting voted to authorize the library to seek renewal for the tax measure. So it will be on the ballot in November. I hope you'll keep that in mind as you listen to Erika. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Erika Thibault, our library director.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for having us. I know some of you have probably heard variations of this before, but I'm glad that you're here, especially our council members and our vice mayor. I do have some updates to share as well. So as Andy mentioned, our libraries are for everyone. And we conducted a survey in May to determine what voters in Sonoma County thought were the most important services that we provide to the community. And these were the things that came to the top of the list. It includes keeping qualified librarians and library staff, reading programs for children, homework help, career support, and computer labs, safe places for children after school, and clean, safe places. Now, these were things that are in our existing Measure Y expenditure plan, and these same things will appear in our new Measure W expenditure plan. So we haven't really changed anything from the current measure to the new measure. When we did the poll, we found that people really felt that these were the strongest things that we provide. We have a reimagining plan. This is our strategic plan, and this is what guides our decision making. It's what helps us set our budget priorities, our programming, and our services. And it includes things like providing opportunities for all to learn, contribute, interact, and participate, furthering community resiliency, and fostering racial equity, social justice, and inclusion. As Andy mentioned, we do have 17 locations. That includes 14 branches, a library support center. We have our history and genealogy library, as well as our bibliobus. These span the county from as far north to Cloverdale to Petaluma in the south, Guerneville and Sebastopol to the west, Sonoma Valley to the east, and all points in between. We also have an administrative center where our IT, special collections, administration, HR, and all of our administrative functions. As Andy mentioned, our funds are 40% property tax, 60% or 40% sales tax, 60% property tax, and then we also have some intergovernmental funds, things like grants that we get from the state, as well as other agencies. We have over 300 employees and a budget of 52 million. So it's a pretty large agency, and it's grown 100%, since the passage of Measure Y. I want to talk a little bit about the Healdsburg Regional Library. This is our special location where we have our wine library. This is county. There's only 2 public wine libraries in the nation. The first one is ours, and the second one is Napa County. So it's a really special place, and we have a wine library friends group that supports just the wine library, as well as our Friends of Healdsburg Library, which supports the whole library. It has over 2,005 visitors per week. They do an average of 38 programs per month. They also have a seed library. So this is for people who, love to garden and want to try out different kinds of flowers and vegetables. They can check out seeds from the library. We also have a bibliobox, which is our 24/7 holds locker, which is external, so people can get their holds even when the library is closed. And then we're going to be closing the Healdsburg Library in a few weeks to do our modernization project. Let me see. And what this is going to mean, so this is a rendering of what the children's area is going to look like after the library is reopened. It's a $2.1 million project from the library side. We will be completely, renovating the interior space, including adding new carpeting, furniture, shelving, and paint. We're going to be putting windows in that area. You may know that it can get somewhat dark in there, so we're going to be adding the windows. We're adding gender-neutral restrooms in the lobby, a new teen area, as well as study pods. And study pods are 2-person pods that people can use. They can kind of check out like they would anything else for a couple hours, and they use that space to study, to work, to take Zoom calls, and that kind of thing. So we're going to be closing September 1st, reopening sometime in early 2025. We have been working with the city folks, Jeff Kay and Andrew Sternfels, to find temporary location for the library during the closure. That will be at the Healdsburg Community Center. So we're very grateful to the city for working with us on that. And then our staff will be conducting quite a bit of outreach during that time. Pickup services will be limited but available. We will still have holds pickup. We will have public computers. We'll have a small browsing collection, and we will continue to provide programs. And patrons will also be able to, get books from all of our other locations. So some of the services that we provide at the library include services for youth and adults. And these are our 3 main focus areas for youth. Early learning, which includes story times, literacy support, and parent education. And if you've ever seen the Read to a Dog program, you'll know how popular that is. That's a special program where we have volunteers who bring specially trained dogs in for children who are learning how to read. It helps them with their confidence and comfort level. We also provide school support, which includes our Student Success Card. And this is a library card that students throughout the county can get through their school. We also provide reading programs, STEAM programs, and educator support, including a teacher card. And the teacher card has expanded borrowing privileges for teachers. And then lastly, we have our transition to adulthood. And this is really our teen services. We provide volunteering opportunities as well as internships through our summer lunch at the library program. We also do programs on civic engagement and social justice, as well as teaching teens how to adult, life skills, mental health, and college support programs. For adults, we have a variety of programs as well, including, access to a variety of different library materials, both physical and digital, streaming services, databases. We have access to technology at the library, including our public computers, our Wi-Fi hotspots and Chrome kits, as well as rich and diverse programming from book clubs to author events to art programs. And then lastly, we have our Community Connection, which is our literacy program, meeting rooms, and we provide free printing as well as outreach through our Bibliobus. Now, our Bibliobus is our mobile library vehicle that goes throughout the county. It has both regular community stops at schools, senior centers. It goes to festivals and parades, as well as stops in our more underserved and remote areas, such as Monterey, Cazadero, Bodega Bay, Geyserville, think the Springs in Sonoma, as well as Kenwood and Glen Ellen. So we have a website that if people are interested in having the Bibliobus come to their event or come to a location, we have a website where you can request the Bibliobus. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about our statistics for the last year. This is our fiscal year ending in 23-24. And I think the main thing that I want you to take away from this is that our library is thriving. So last year we had 1.4 million visits to branches. This is actually a 13% increase over the previous year. We also had 172,000 people attend programs, and this is a 42% increase over last year. And as Andy said, we're open 7 days a week, 2 nights a week, and we offer library service for 756 hours at all branches. This is actually a 30% increase above the 2017 level. And this is really due, as he mentioned, to Measure Y and the funds that makes this possible. I know that other libraries are struggling. I work with other library directors throughout the state as well as nationally. And, places like Seattle Public Library is going to be reducing their hours. Los Angeles Public Library is severely understaffed and they're closing branches daily because of lack of staffing. Sacramento Public still isn't at their pre-pandemic hours. So we're very, very fortunate here that we are well funded, that we have, that we're fully staffed and that we're able to meet the needs of our community. So this is our circulation for the last fiscal year that ended in June. And you can see the orange is our digital, the blue is our physical items. And you can see that our circulation is the highest it's ever been in the history of the library. And that is, like I said, it's due to Measure Y, those additional hours, those additional staff members. It's also due to investing in our library collection. Our most recent circulation was 4.4 million, and our circulation is 62% physical and 38% digital. But you can see how the digital has increased since 2015. It's actually increased 677%, which is a huge amount. And digital content is much more expensive than physical material. The average book costs about $35 for an adult hardback. An ebook is between $70 and $100, and we don't own it. It's a license that we have to purchase. And after so many uses, we have to repurchase it. So the digital content is quite expensive. But all of this is supported by our Measure Y sales tax funds. We have over 600,000 physical items in our collection, and we also share our library catalog with Lake County and Mendocino County. So you can order something from one of our branches, but you might also get it from Lake or Mendocino. We also have this amazing service called Link Plus, which is a network of 70 libraries throughout the state of California that you can order books from. It's a really nice service if you're looking for specifically rare and niche materials. There are some university libraries that are included, but it's mostly public. But you can order, items from San Diego, San Rafael, San Francisco Public. It's a really wonderful service, and this is actually supported by funds from the state library. Our digital collections, Libby is, as Andy mentioned, is probably one of our most used app. In the state of California, there are about 1,100 libraries, and Sonoma County is 5th in the state for Libby usage. So it's a very popular service for us. We have surpassed 1 million checkouts 2 years in a row. But we also have many other digital learning platforms, including LinkedIn Learning and Mango Languages. So if you want to learn a language, we have Mango. If you want to learn new skills, like learning a new software application, there's even management and leadership courses through LinkedIn. So those are very popular. And then Press Reader is our newspaper archive. So it has access to the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Press Democrat. So that's available through Press Reader. And then Canopy is one of our streaming services. This is a movie streaming service that has highly curated content from the Criterion Collection to foreign films and old movies. So if you like Fellini, you can find Fellini films in Canopy. We don't just have books and digital content, we also have physical items. We call this our library of things. And these include things like our Stores to Go kits. These are themed bilingual kits with resources for children to provide story times. It focuses on early learning skills, and it helps support preparation of children into entry for the K through 12 school system. We also have DIY toolkits. These are toolboxes that they have energy and water savings devices that you can use in your home, such as an LED light bulb, and tools and tips to help your home be more efficient. And then one of my favorite programs is our Parks Passes. So we have both state Parks Passes as well as our regional Parks Passes. And these are parking passes that you can check out from the library and use as many times as you like in the 3 weeks that you have to use them. The Parks Pass program is supported by the state library. This was actually something that was going to be cut this last year in the governor's budget, but the Parks Foundation actually advocated to have the funding restored. And we're very grateful for them because this is also one of our most popular programs. We're 5th in the state as well for our state Parks Passes. And then we have regional Parks Passes as well. So, if people love parks, they can come to the library and check out one of those items. Technology is one of the things that we're especially focused on. As I mentioned, we do have these Chrome kits, which include a hotspot and a Chromebook that people can check out and take home with them. We also have our BiblioBox, which you see pictured in the middle. And the way this works is that when you request a hold, you have to select the BiblioBox as your location. And then when you're notified that your books are available, you scan your library card, you enter your PIN number, and the locker just opens. And when you remove the items, they are automatically checked out to you. So it's very easy, very convenient, and we will eventually have these at all of our locations. And lastly, we have our laptop kiosks. Traditionally, libraries would have banks of computers that people could use. We are moving towards a more flexible model with our laptop lending kiosk. That is so that patrons can, sit anywhere they like in the library, not be tied to a location. One of the things as a librarian, you do occasionally have conflict between people sitting next to each other, at those computer banks. The laptop kiosk allows people to sit where they want, and it also gives them a little bit more privacy. So last year we hired Dr. Robert Eiler from Sonoma State to do an economic impact study of the library. And he looked at 3 aspects of our budget, and these include our daily operations as an employer, our capital improvements program, and social benefits and household savings from using the library and its programs. And he found that for every dollar that of tax funds that are used to support the library, the community receives a $3.82 return on investment. So as we said, our sales tax is 40% of our revenue. Our current measure expires in March 2027. We are projecting that by spring of 2027, the estimated sales tax revenues will be 18 million. And if, our plan is, that the new sales tax measure will go into effect on April 1st, 2027. But if for some reason it doesn't pass this time around, we will have another opportunity in 2026 to get a renewal. So here's our timeline. We're at the very end of our timeline. As Commissioner Elkin noted, the commission did vote to approve a ballot initiative for the November ballot. And so that's done. And at some point soon, our citizen-led campaign will begin. So this is one of my favorite quotes. This was actually in response to an article that I wrote for the Press Democrat. That our library was one of the few institutions that improved during COVID. And I think this is true, and it's largely due to the funding that we have, as well as our dedicated and friendly staff. That, and I can tell you as a library director, I'm the one who gets the complaints, and I never get complaints from people in Sonoma County about our staff. I always get such great compliments about how friendly they are, how professional they are. And it's really their dedication that enables us to provide all of these wonderful services in addition to our sales tax funds. And with that, we will take questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both Andy and Erika. As a longtime Sonoma County resident, I've had the opportunity to use both the libraries in Santa Rosa, where I grew up. In fact, the Carnegie Library before the original one. That's how far I go back. In fact, it was the Carnegie Library here before the original one, which is great. And I'm prejudiced because I have a wife that's a librarian. Also involved in the Read to Dog program, which is great. Okay, questions out there? Anybody? See if I don't see a hand raised. I think we've got a pretty good representation of what's going on. Do you see anybody out there, Jessica, or?
I don't see anyone, but this is Talia, and I was just curious if you could tell us, in the last few years, I believe you sort of touched on it, but has library traffic increased or decreased since the pandemic?
Well, it's interesting. So our visitation peaked kind of in 2017, 2018 with about 2 million people per year. So last year we had 1.4 people visit. So we're not quite at the before 2018 level, but we are seeing that every year more and more people are visiting the library. So this year we had 1.4 million. Last year we had 1.2 million. But our usage has gone way up. And I think a lot of it is, people may not come physically to the library, but they are using our digital content. And that is what has gone really far up, especially in the pandemic when the library was closed or we only had curbside. Many people learned how to use that e-media to access library resources.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. I mean, so many things have shifted over that way. And just the fact that the library itself, you're something like 40% digital now?
Yeah, 38%. Yeah.
Yeah.
May I add something, Erika?
Sure.
As part of the reimagining plan that Erika referenced, one of the key themes was we can't just stay in the library and wait for people to come. We've got to bring the library out to the community. And I think that over the last few years, you've probably seen some evidence of this, not just with the bibliobus, which of course is great, but with attendance at various community events. If you were at Dia de las Muertes, for example, in the plaza, you saw the library staff there, and in many communities around Sonoma, the library is getting out of the building and going to meet people where they are, and I think that's also a factor.
Yeah, including me. I do a lot of outreach as well. I'm not just this, coming to the Rotary clubs and the chambers of commerce. I did one of the things that when we were expanding our bibliobus program, I went to many of the municipal advisory council meetings to talk to the community. And one of the things that they told us is that they would like to pick up holds. And our current bibliobus does not have the capacity to do that. So we're actually purchasing a second bus this year that we will hope will be large enough. It'll be a more traditional bookmobile. And the idea is that when we go out to Bodega Bay, not only will we have a browsing collection, but people will be able to place a hold and pick it up, at that stop.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Anybody else out there?
I had a quick question.
Danielle?
I know, Erika, you touched a bit on other things that you can check out besides just books, but I've heard from people in the past, can you check out like cameras and things too? Do you guys have?
Oh, yes. So Santa Rosa, the Central Library in Santa Rosa has a digital camera lending library as well as sound studios. So the Central Library has the sound studios, and so does the Rincon Valley Library. And this is DSLRs, video cameras. We have lighting equipment, microphones. You can check them out from the library, but we also have video and sound editing equipment and computers at Santa Rosa, Rincon Valley, and the Central Library. Those are actually made possible through PEG funding, which is, it's called the Public Education and Government. It's a grant through cable access. And Santa Rosa actually gives us money specifically for that, for those branches. And we would love to expand that. We would love to expand that program.
Wow, very cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Erika and Andy, for your presentations and for all you and the library do for the community. It's a wonderful resource. We all appreciate it. We probably don't tell you enough, but here you go. Pat on the back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to turn to City Council update. Evelyn, are you going to be handling that for us?
Yes, thank you. But before I update, I just would like to add my thanks to Andy and to Erika. The Reimagine Library is quite impressive. The creativity that the pandemic seems to have nurtured to some degree really is full force in the library, and I'm really impressed. And thank you for all of that. I really appreciate it. And I could see a lot of different ways that people can now use the library. And getting the word out like this, I think is critical, right? So thank you both. So for the update for the city, just to start out, the recycled water pipeline construction is still ongoing, but it is a little bit ahead of schedule. And so the biggest traffic impact should be over fairly soon. This is huge for the city to have accomplished this and to be able to get this completed. And I'm sure our community will appreciate it once the roads are back to normal. The fire substation and the Foley Pavilion are both on schedule as well. These are like unprecedented, ahead of schedule or on schedule. When does that happen, right? But the substation should be finished around the end of this year, and the Foley Pavilion by the middle of next summer. So watch for that. Right now, it just looks like a bunch of poles sitting out there, but I'm sure that's going to change soon. It happens fast. Measure O is on the ballot. Measure O is the housing initiative that we're trying to carve out some geographic location exemptions from the GMO to build housing for families in the city of Healdsburg. While we can't use city resources to promote it, we are working hard to demystify the complex issue. And staff and council are both happy to meet with any community members or groups. If you would like to hear more about it, we're happy to send someone or find someone, so you can contact me, Chris, Ron, Jeff. We're all involved in trying to help the community understand what this issue is and how important it is. So you could also go to www.healdsburg.gov/GMO for FAQs. The city's been working really hard to get that put together. Our Monday meeting, so our July vacation is over, I'm sorry to say. And so now we start back. Council meetings in July. This Monday, we have a meeting that will include items to approve installation of public safety cameras in several areas. This will help build the license plate reader program that started last year and has resulted in the recovery of several stolen vehicles. So it's been a success in that way. Our August 19th meeting will include a discussion of formula retail, no ordinance, just some general direction from council and staff, the Grove Street improvements update, and a discussion on forming of the Arts and Culture Commission. So that's the brief update. As I said, the staff's been working really hard all July. The council has had vacation, so we're going to start our work again in August.
All right. What is formula retail?
Formula retail, that's a good question. It is a concern, let's see, so of having an ordinance on our books so that no big corporation retail like The Gap, I don't know, Nordstrom's or that kind of
Chains,
thing
basically.
would come into the community. So we already have a I'm not even sure what the word is it for, but around the plaza, it's already protected from that. So it's all kind of local businesses and no chains, as Chris said. But there's been some concern that beyond the plaza, there might be some businesses who are trying to kind of sneak in and have big formula retail. So
Evelyn?
we'll have that conversation. Pardon me?
I'm sorry,
It's in
Evelyn,
the
I didn't
general.
mean to interrupt. Oh,
Ron?
I just wanted to mention that our Government Affairs Committee, which is, sorry, I'm pulling up my calendar. Daniela, do you know it offhand? We'll be discussing this anyhow as a Chamber of Commerce, and we're having Scott Duvian come talk and just give us insight on what the language says already about the things
Nancy's on
around
the
the
phone. August
plaza.
8th.
Yes, and yes, August 8th at 11:45 a.m. at the chamber office.
Apologize.
Yeah,
for interrupting.
It's currently in the general plan to not allow the box stores on the plaza itself. So we'll be exploring a ordinance, in fact.
Yeah.
To expand that off of the plaza, basically.
Beyond the plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the devil's in the details. It's, what forms a chain. You get a mom and a pop who have 5 stores is out of change. And, yeah, I know. You guys, you have a really hard job. We love the fact that you do it and we don't have to.
You could though.
No. Okay, that's great. Glad to hear about the water project. That's fantastic. Yes, it is hard to believe that everything's either on time or ahead of time, which is great. We appreciate that. And I don't know if everybody really appreciates the effect that the GMO has on housing, the ability for us to provide housing, but it is significant, and hopefully they will become educated on that. And I think the city's current approach, and I've been involved with a few of these in the past that haven't been successful, but I think the current approach in targeting areas is easier because a lot of the opposition, of course, is they're worried about it being in their backyard. And if they know exactly where it's going to go, it should be, hopefully it'll be easier to say, yeah, that's a good idea. Well, thank you for everything you do, Evelyn, Chris, and Ron, and everybody else out there that's on the council. Anybody have any questions for Evelyn, Chris, or Ron? Other than the ones we've already brought up? If not, perfect. We'll move on to Jeff. who always comes in after everybody's said everything that's going on in the city and tries to think of something new. Jeff, you're on.
Yeah, you just got a good update. So I'll add a couple of things. One, on Foley, I can attest that if you hear jackhammering in the background as I speak to you, they're working hard, but everything's on schedule until it's not. But the vice mayor's right. All those projects are moving along really well so far. So every month of good progress without a terrible surprise and a change order is good for me. But they're about to start blowing up the foundation on the Foley Pavilion. So we'll see a new phase on that. Just a couple other things I would add. One is you got a really good update about what's coming to the council in the next couple of meetings. People may also want to have a look at what's coming to the planning commission. They're going to have 2 meetings in August, both of which are focused on the Mill District project. What this will include is a few different approvals, one of which is the 4th Amendment to the development agreement. Projects that big and take that long, it's totally common to have various amendments and things change. So there's been a little bit of movement. They did a workshop on the design of the hotel with the planning commission, I think 2 actually, earlier this year, and made quite a lot of changes based on the feedback they received, which I think was really positive. But there's also a moving of the amenity building, which serves both the residences, which actually should be occupied. It's now August, some of them this month. And the amenity building's moving, so that requires some approvals. There's some changes into the management structure of the hotel, requires some approvals. And then the movement of the amenity building requires the reconfiguration of some of the next phases of residential. So that requires some additional changes, plus a whole bunch of little details I won't bore you with. But that will come in 2 chunks to the planning commission this month. I think the first agenda will be out as soon as next week. It's crazy complicated, and reviewing that stuff, I had 4 maps in front of me with scribble all over them, so I don't expect that everybody wants to delve into that level of detail. Nevertheless, it's an important project, and I would recommend for those who are interested, maybe just watch the presentation at the Planning Commission, either live or on recording when you want to. It's something I've noticed is that every time anything changes in relation to a hotel, there's some sentiment out there that we just approved a brand new hotel project for the first time. That's not happening. This project was approved many years ago, but there are some adjustments that are happening, which is typical in my experience, but it's still worth paying attention to. So hopefully that's a digestible synopsis, but there are a few moving parts, and recommend people just keep an eye on that. That would, assuming it goes smoothly with the planning commission, that would come to the council at the 2nd meeting, I think in September, so not too far off. And one last thing I'll mention, since we've got a couple minutes, that we haven't talked about, and you'll see on the city council meeting agenda for this coming Monday, is 3 agreements with some of our labor groups inside the city. We have 5 groups. 4 of them all had their agreements up at the end of the last fiscal year, which was June 30th. It's a bummer to some of us when that happens, because the bargaining is kind of hard. And doing a bunch of them is just a lot of labor. So it was a really big lift over the last several months. It's quite frankly not something you'll hear me talking about in public a lot. It's my position that when you read about bargaining in the newspaper, it probably means that something's gone wrong and it's bad. And I can't promise that we'll never be there, but I will say that thus far you have not read about any of our bargaining in the newspaper, and we've reached agreements with all of our bargaining groups. Generally speaking, you'll see that compensation increases are tied to CPI inflation, so I don't think there's anything of concern from a fiscal perspective. But it's always a challenging thing to do. We value our employees like crazy. This has not been an easy hiring environment. I think a lot of you know that over the last few years. Our philosophy here is we're not going to have a huge staff, but we're going to have a really good staff, and we do try to pay a little bit above market, and that's something I think makes good sense, and pays good dividends. But there's a balancing act there, and of course we have to meet our revenues, which have been pretty much flat over the last year and a half, and provide all the services that we provide while maintaining a quality staff and retaining that staff. So it's a hard lift for us. It's a hard lift for those groups themselves. It's a really hard lift for the council when you have 4 groups that are being negotiated at the same time. These are usually 3-ish year agreements. which means that at any one given session, at least one, probably a couple of the council members are doing it for the first time. And these agreements include so much more than just some headline salary number, which is what everybody kind of looks for. Just a ton of details, but I'm just pleased to note that we've reached the end of that process without any acrimony, and I think what we've arrived at is fair and balanced and allows us to keep doing what we're doing. There's still some challenges. This is a surprise to nobody probably, but the overwhelming majority of our employees cannot in any way, shape, or form afford to live in Healdsburg. That's unfortunate. I think it's better to have people live and work in the same place. And certainly when you're talking about city employees, the more time I see a lot of stuff by walking the dog out there. And so the more you're here, the more you know, and the better you can do your job. And so that's just the challenge that we have to deal with. And I'd love to find ways. You guys talked about Measure O and housing a few minutes ago. We're always trying to chip away at that challenge. But I think really just the point I want to leave you all with is that we're in a pretty good place. Our vacancy has been very low over the last couple of years. So we have a few places where it's hard to hire always, but we've got a wonderful staff and we're in a pretty good place. So it's not something you'll hear me chirping about at every monthly check-in meeting, just because I don't think it's an effective way to do that negotiating. But if anybody is flipping through the agenda, you'll see those agreements, and that's a sign that we've reached the finish line, which is good.
Well, again, thank you, Jeff, for all you do as well. Anybody have any questions for Jeff? Because talking about getting things done ahead of time or on time, this session has gone really well. All right. Well, anything anybody else wants to just bring up to the meeting or have questions about in general while we have our city council people and city manager here?
Mark, we have a couple chamber announcements when the
Sure.
questions are finished.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, Amanda?
Want to just invite you all on Wednesday, August 21st to our annual barbecue and blues party. So this is our largest event of the year. It's our largest fundraiser. We couldn't do it without you guys. We have surpassed over 200 tickets so far sold. So we're trying to get to that 300 mark as we have every year for the last 4 years. We appreciate the support. Love to invite you guys out if you don't already have your tickets. I'll put it in the link here. You can also find it, our link in bio on Instagram. You can also find it on our website. But tickets are still available. And of course, we have the sponsorship opportunities too, if that's something that you're interested in. So Wednesday, August 21st, 5:30 to 8:30 at Rodney Strong. Ticket includes dinner, live band, amazing raffles, great networking, the business awards that Healdsburg always looks forward to. And so we invite you guys all to come out and join us.
And I hear we have a guest moderator. I think it's Will Seppi from some bakery called Costo. So that should be really fun.
Yeah, wearing one of his costumes, I'm assuming, right, Will?
Right, Will? Probably. Like, I think he's going to dress as a croissant or something this year. I'm not really sure.
He's going to throw
Yes.
loaves of bread from the stage, I heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
And for those of you who can see the notes, Amanda and Jessica have both posted the Eventbrite link for being able to get tickets. All right. Any other announcements out there, Talia?
Just the chamber will be continuing to monitor and discuss the formula retail and the GMO initiative. So if you'd like more information, feel free to reach out to any of us on the phone. We can get you meeting dates or other things that are going to be happening in the future.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Hope you enjoyed this one and have a great week.
Thank you for the great presentation, Andy and Erika.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
See you all around.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I was just saying goodbye to the Zoom meeting I was on.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. What?
I was just saying goodbye to the meeting I was on.